Okay, can you tell us a little bit about the size and scope of the operation and some of the current horses you have here?
Sure. Well, I'm standing in the Humane Education Center, a building that you're very familiar with since we always have your classes here when they come. These photographs are all of our equine residents. Most of them are here. There are a few more photographs over there. And we have 140 acres, of which 100 are usable for horses. The other 40 acres are very wooded, and there's a steep drop to one section, a 28-acre section that's pretty treacherous, which is why we have a perimeter fence around the main area where we have the horses, so if somebody were to get out, that they couldn't go down into that very treacherous area. So that's just sort of a wooded area that cannot be used at all. There's nothing flat there. There's no grass, and it's all very wooded. And then we have a couple of wet areas that we also don't use. So 100 acres are used. We have currently 80 equines, which includes horses, ponies, donkeys, and mules. We have 3 wild mustangs. 2 of them came from the prior mountains of Montana. 1 of them came from Nevada. But we also have horses that we've rescued from all different paths, thoroughbreds, horses used by the Amish, which includes mules, standard breds that had once raced and turned into buggy horses, work horses such as drafts. We have a Clydesdale and a white Percheron that had been Amish work horses. We have saddlebreds here, miniature horses and donkeys from petting zoos and roadside tourist attractions. The thing that the horses here have in common is that they were, except for the ones that were born here, and let me not forget the PMU mares that we've rescued in Canada, which is one of the cruelest things that horses are used for in the world. We have, we don't breed horses. The only time we have baby horses here is when we rescue pregnant mares. But all of the horses here, I'd say 95% of them were rescued from terrible circumstances, either directly from slaughter, out of the kill pens. Sometimes we are contacted by police and we participate in cruelty raids, or sometimes police will say they have a horse, would we take that horse? That happens on a regular basis. We have several horses here who were abandoned. Some of the stories are absolutely outrageous. We have a donkey here named Jake who was locked in a stall for the first 9 years of his life. Never was allowed out, never saw the sun, never saw another animal, and he's here. So we take animals that have issues, and because we're not on any kind of timeline, time is, for as long as it takes for a horse to come around is fine. They can do it at their own pace. For instance, as I mentioned, the PMU mares, we have, they're terribly abused, and I can say that there are some that do come around over time, and some of them are absolutely fine, but we have some that will never get over what happened to them. So it depends on the individual animal. So when we built this education center in 2006, it was with the idea that you can't rescue every horse. So all the horses that come here become symbols and ambassadors for other horses in similar situations that also need rescue. So part of what we hope to achieve is to give people, visitors, students, people who are interested in equine protection, the tools and the know-how of how they can do rescue on their own if they have the ability to do it, if they have property, but even if they don't, how to network, how to save animals. We all are more used to saving dogs and cats because they're, frankly, they're
Right.
easier to rescue and not as big and don't require quite as much care as horses. But the principle is the same. And I have found a lot of people very, very willing to get involved. It's just a matter of knowing what to do.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you reach youth? I know you've been going prior to the pandemic, heading into the schools from an ethics standpoint.
Right. Well, we have a teacher on staff. She's part-time. We're hoping someday she'll be full-time. As you mentioned, with the pandemic, everything has been complicated. But on our website, we have a kids' corner, and Other features, we're starting to do videos for kids, just to get kids involved and engaged with classes and students of the age that you teach. Obviously, a lot of them are interested in going into occupations involving horses. And yes, there is an ethics issue. When you use horses to generate profits, there is always the question of what will happen to that animal when the animal can no longer work and make money. And so that is a big issue with us, whether it's race horses, horses that are being used in camps for hire, school horses, all kinds of horses that are used for different purposes. And, you know, like all of us, we get older and can't perform in the same way as we did when we were younger. Some horses sustain injuries and need time off. So it's a matter of going into these businesses with the idea that if these situations arise, that you will take care of them in a humane fashion. And then if and when the horse can no longer perform and you cannot keep the horse, that you do everything you can. If the horse is placeable, that you find a kind home with responsible people. Then there is also humane euthanasia, which is a lot kinder than sending a horse to an auction and having them end up in the slaughterhouse. So, you know, humane euthanasia for us, we humanely euthanize horses when it becomes medically necessary, because we're a sanctuary and we're taking in a lot of horses that other people, you know, that got into trouble because people couldn't keep them or they were abandoned or something. But for people that are in the business of having horses as part of their livelihood, those issues really need to be thought out carefully before they embark on that business.